Hello everyone. With this hat on and this shirt, it looks a bit kind of weirdly Christmassy, but there we go. How are you all doing? I haven't done any work on this since yesterday. So where we were at yesterday was I was having problems with the shooting. So what I should do is set up a special test case just for that. So maybe what I'll do is start off by jumping to halt here, which just freezes everything after the initialization phase, and then I'll work from here to draw a shot. So and I just hardwire it and then see what's going on, because as I keep saying, no debugger, can't even print statements. So let's go with the old favorite 100. Now I don't know, it's just something I've just thought might be a good idea for me to check if I can put multiple commands on one line. It would help. So this is the Acme assembler, multiple commands on one line. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So is there a way? Oh, I don't know. I have to look through the whole flipping. Let me just try. Let's see. Load a. Hey, Juanja, how you doing? Yeah. Yeah, I'm carrying on with this game. But one thing I wanted to see is if I could separate store a $80. Am I allowed to do that? Garbage at end of statement. All right, what about if I do it like that? Ooh. Does that work? Are you having a good weekend, Juanja? Let me see. I'm going to try load a $80, and then the next command is store a in $8800. See if I can do more than one command on the same line. Maybe if I load $AA into the accumulator and then write it to, oh, look at that, it works. Got those little dots there, that's AA. So okay, that answers my question. If I can put multiple commands on the same line, I can make my debugging statements a little easier to do. So I'm going to do load A100, store A in sprites, actually no, X high, the high byte of the X register plus shots index, which is the first shot. Okay, then I can do say 100 again, but do it for YH plus shots index, and see that works. Okay, so now I could put them all in one line. So that's setting the position of the shot that I want to try and draw. And then when I look in sprites, let me split this window here and go to sprites .a, draw shots. And how many shots do I have at the moment? I have 4 shots, so let's just change that to 1 shot. So if I call, that just makes it easier, less confusion if I'm working on 1 shot at a time. So where's my code? Here it is. So I could actually do JSR draw shots. and it should draw a shot at 100, 100 on the screen. So let's just see, and then halt. And I can't see anything there. Just reviewing that code. No, I don't see anything. It's calling draw shots, and I want to know how many. Well, yes, yes, I've started to explore a little bit the debugging technique of write directly to screen memory. I want to check how many times it's going around this loop. So at the beginning of the loop, I could simply do load a immediate -1, store a $8800 comma X, and I will get a filled in byte on the screen for every shot that's drawn at 8800. Now what's confusing me a little bit is it looks like that dash would be it, but it's in the wrong place. No, it isn't. It's not in the wrong place. Because the shots are not at 0 because of the indexing thing. So what I'm going to do is do that. No. Wait a minute. That should be. So I think we have a hint as to the problem here already. I was expecting that to appear. Well, look, if I take out the comma X, it adds the value in the index register to the 8800. But there, this dash that I've got here, it's oh, I have a problem with my thing. Hang on. Yeah, that's better. It's lined up better on the background. I didn't spot that. So the dash has appeared on this left-hand side. That is memory location 8800, which means that X. Ah, okay, right. That's, I see what's wrong there. It's just a little bit of pilot error there. I hadn't loaded the X register with that yet. All right, let's just do that. Oh, right. So if I do comma X, it should work in the way that I anticipated, and just there we are. And that's the only one that it does. And we should see that if I change it to back to 4 shots, we should get a longer line, because there we are. Those are the 4 shots that it was drawing, but I'm going to just put it back to 1 shot. Now, since it's not actually displaying the shot anywhere on the screen, what I need to do is try to hardwire that shot in here. So let's see, like, it could be that it's disabled. Aha! You fool. The shots are disabled at the start. If I try to draw the shot and the shot is disabled, it will not draw. So we need to also do load a immediate, load a immediate 0, store a into sprites flags plus shots index, and that should be fine. And what that will do is setting that to 0 will ensure that it has cleared the flag, the disable flag. And now we try again. And I still don't see any shot being drawn. So we can go back to the sprite code here, verify that it is in fact enabled. And what can I do for that? I can just take my little debug thing here. and treat it like a breakpoint. So it's like, does it get through? First of all, it checks if there's anything to clear. So I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to change what is drawn to AA. Why? Why am I changing that? Because otherwise, if this succeeds, it will look exactly the same as it did before. And then if there's something else going on, like, for example, it isn't compiling and running the code anymore, believe me, been there, bought the t-shirt. So this has gone to AA, as you can see, and so that's working. So it means that the fact the shot is not disabled, which is great. And then what does it do? Let's see if it thinks that there's anything to clear. So that will be on this shot XOR with screen, because when nothing happens, you don't have a lot to go on, right? So let's try FA, and it hasn't. That little sign is not set. That byte is not set. I don't see it set on the screen, which means it didn't go here. But that's okay. I didn't expect it to, but I do expect it to arrive here, which I'll do AF. So I should see that. Whoa. Why do I get garbage? Because I did it comma X. I don't know why. Yeah. Well, no, I still get garbage. That is interesting, because I loaded the accumulator with something. Huh? This makes no sense. Now it looks like it's on top of something else, so maybe I'll just move a bit further down the screen. Like, we'll go to 9,000. Okay, that is AF. That's 10101111. That's AF. So it got to there, but that garbage. Oh, I think there was a coincidence, and it happened to put it there, because I see a small little corruption here. So anyway, whatever. It is arriving at this point. So what I'm going to do then is look at what it's doing here. It loads X with the contents of 84. What is that? Well, let's just transfer X to A and store it at my 9,000. So I will get a view of. Well, it just was a mess on the screen. Oh, there's definitely weird stuff going on, because there's a shot right there. But I'm not seeing anything appearing over here, and that's because the X register is 0, which is what I would expect it to be. It's calculating a sprite address. Tell you what, let's do load A, shots, load A, sprites, shot index X. Hey Mike, whether flags or registers being clobbered is possible, but there comes a certain point where it's better to just go through the process of I don't know. It's something. I think something is being clobbered, probably. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just store the X and Y coordinates of the sprite on the screen, so I can check. And it's about checking all the assumptions. So if I load the good to see you, Mike, by the way. Yeah, So I was in the middle of a thought. Sprites XH plus index, comma X, and then we store that in $9,000. Let me just run that, make sure. So that is the X coordinate of my shot that I'm drawing. So to make that a little more visible, I'm going to do my little trick of $55, store a $9,020, load a F0, store a $9,040, and that's not quite what I wanted. So I can see a 5.5 there. Oh, because I put a semicolon in instead. You've got to be careful with that. You put a semicolon in, it turns into a comment. And now I've got a letter G has planted itself over that. Right, so what we have there, that address in hex is 6.4. That address in hex is 6.4. You know after a while that 6.4 is 100. So that's the X coordinate is 100. Oh, I'll get letters over the top of my thing there. There we go. It's a little easier to read maybe now. So, and then what's the Y coordinate? So maybe I can just plot the Y coordinate at 8FE0. I will get the Y coordinate in. So there we can see there's the same pattern because it was 100, 100. So this, the input I get for the address is their coordinates 100, 100, which is absolutely fine. Hey Alan, how you doing? Good to see you. I think what I'm going to do is just put these little markers that I'm putting to help me visualize where the bits are. I'll put that at the top, and then this one can be 9, 40, 60 and 980. Let's try that. Okay, so I can see that that's 100, 100 on there. What I want to do now is print out the address. So we calculate the sprite address. That's done here. And then after I do that, in 8.2 and 8.3, I will have the address where I'm writing into video memory for coordinates 100, 100. Now I should be able to see that. So let's do that. I'm going to load the accumulator with $82, store it at $90ABC0, 90C0. Oh, look, I put the semicolon in there. That's because you could put multiple commands on the ACORN atom with the assembler in ACORN atom basic. It was a semicolon. That's why I keep doing a semicolon. I really don't want a semicolon. If we take 8.3 is the other address that I would expect to see things in. I'm going to put that at CDE, and it should output the address. So that little mess that we see there, the first one at C0 is the low address and the top one is the high address. The high one is 83. That's a bit suspicious. Am I doing it? Did I by mistake do an immediate mode 83? No, I was just checking I hadn't done immediate 83, which would be storing the value 83. I think it just seems a bit of a coincidence that 83 has the value 83 in it, which was a bit confusing. Yes, the ACORN style hex thing. Yeah, easily done. So the bottom of, so the thing here is I'm basically looking at the values of things by throwing the pixels at the screen and reading the pixels off. Now, that's because I don't have any other way. It's all I've got. But you get used to it. So the bottom one is 83, as it's 1000 and then 0011. That's the high byte. The low byte is 24. 22, yeah. So the address it's trying to write to is 8322, but I don't see anything. So, well, of course, what I could do is I could write something to the screen now. In fact, what I could do that using indirect addressing. If I load, am I using the Y register? I don't know. I don't think I'm even using the Y register. So I need to load the Y register with 0. I need to load the accumulator with -1, and then I can store it in $82, Y, which basically the address that's stored in 8283 plus Y is where I'm going to store it. I should see a mark on the screen. Yeah, it does. This is the debugger. But I have a screen here. You could try it. Maybe if I share the desktop there. This is the debugger window. So then it's, you know, I don't know. I've got commands. I could read memory, write memory. I suppose that might be a good idea. I've just not tried using it. Feels like cheating, but there was no debugger when you made this originally, so you would use techniques like this. I want to memory. Watch, read, $82. Read watch point 0 set to. I don't know. And I just closed. Then it closed down the atomulator. You know, I've often said I really don't like debuggers. This raises eyebrows sometimes, but you walk the road I walked, you would understand. And look, I just tried to use the and look what happened. It's always, well, not always, and they have got better. And of course I do use a debugger, but overall I find logging is usually much more useful. Now I'm just going up and down going, where was that stored? Where did I put it again? Hang on. Atomulator. Let's just restart the atomulator. On me. Now all my windows are messed up. So yes, in theory you can, but I've got bored there trying to figure out how to use the debugger. Just want to make sure that this all lines up still. You're still seeing the whole screen. All right. So what do we have there? But the thing is that I tried to draw it and it didn't draw. And then not only that, but now I've got some other nonsense down there. Let me see, what was the last thing I did? That, I think, is just not working. Do you know, did you see that? It's different every time. That's bad. That is bad. Then it's different every time. How can that be different every time? I mean, now it's probably something illegal. And that might explain. The coordinates, I'm still looking at the coordinates, which is these two, are still 100, 100. The coordinates didn't change, but every time I run this, I get different values for the address. Which are in 8.2 and 8.3, so that's a really bad sign. That's definitely a smoking gun, as they say. I don't know who they are. Apparently they say it. Oh, look at that. I've still got a button to write the word public. That's a hangover from my C# and Unity days. I got so sick and tired of typing public all the time. I made a key just for the word public. Programming C#, you have to type public. Everything, make everything public. Variable, public. Class, public. Public, public, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right. That kind of stuff really annoys me. Anyway, why I need to find out is it, well, yes, avoid C#. Actually, I like C#. I like C#. C# would be fantastic if it wasn't for two things. One, that you have to keep typing public all the time and there's no way to just sort of default to public in anything. The other one is that it's very fussy about typing, so that you can't assign like 2.0 to a float. You have to write 2.0f. Anyway, what's in 82, 83? No, it should be clear of the random number generator. But that is an interesting point. But the thing is, it's calculated here. It's calculated in sprite address 2. So it's just this code. Why would this code create randomness? Oh, tang! I see the problem. I've just seen it. So the mystery is solved. Here's the story. You need, in order to be efficient, because I've only got 6K of RAM to go with, you know, I really don't have the space in there to do sort of object-orientated programming. So, in fact, it's very data-orientated programming, also known as the way we used to program before object-orientated programming came along. It's this big song and dance that some people do of data-orientated programming, and I'm going, yeah, that's the way it always was. It's nothing new. What it means is that I have a pool of all the sprites, and I'm also doubling that up for the shots. And this pool of sprites is to say, here are the shots. I say, here's the shot index, and it says here are the number of shots. And so then it knows from there where to look it up in a table, well, in an array, accessed by the X register. So I can have up to 256 of these things, right? Now, the shots occur, say, at 10, and I might have 2 shots, so they're at 10 and 11. So what I needed to do was, or what I was doing was I was saying, okay, set the X to the last of the shots, do that shot, then decrement X, and then do that shot, and keep going until you get to the end of the shots. But this means if I start at 11 and I go to 10, or say 20, and then 19, 18, 7, whatever, and I end up back, I need to check the beginning, that I've matched the beginning. Well, that requires a comparison. So I need to say, have we arrived at 10 yet, where 10 is the first one? Did we do 10? Are we less than 10? And it was adding instructions on, which were annoying. So what I said was, I'll be clever, which is always dangerous. I'll be clever, and what I'll do is I'll say, we'll make the loop for the shots start at, say, 2 and do 1 and 0, right? So I just have it, if I have 2 shots, I basically have X, well, starts at 1 and then 0, right? So it does 1, it does 0, and then when I see that it reached 0, or it goes negative, in fact, it can stop doing the loop. That's great. I just hardwire everything. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what this construction that you can see in the code over around here is like, you know, plus shots index. So this X is then the index of the shot, or the index of the sprite. So if I have 10 sprites from 0 to 9, and then in the code for the sprites, or the code for whatever, I put an offset to say it's in the section for the shots. It's actually, are you following me? Do you see what's gone wrong? So what's gone wrong is that then I made that change, I engineered that change everywhere. Now look at the sprites 2 thing. Remember that X is now just 1 or 0. And what does it do? It's always looking at the first sprites. It's no longer, the X needs to have the offset to be the absolute address of the shot, not relative to the start of all shots. And so it's stomping on the letters A and B instead, because I didn't refactor this. And hey ho. Now normally this doesn't matter, because the sprite address, the first sprite address function, you give it X equal the instance of the sprite all the time. But I'm calling this one from inside the shots, because the shots are treated differently, and so therefore it doesn't work. How's that? Yes. Yes, yeah, exactly. So it was it's obvious now looking at it. And this is a great advertisement for the ideals of object-oriented programming, because anybody who's looking at this and going, yes, there's a reason why we do proper programming and proper object-oriented thing, it's to stop this kind of confusion. And then I wish they would get into a time machine and go back to the 1980s, and it is like, that's all well and good, but if you want to get your game shipped, you know, you don't have the luxury of waiting another 20 years for the hardware to have got better, and that's better enough that you can waste all the memory and CPU cycles doing all that nonsense just to make computer science easy to teach. If you want more on my opinions of object-oriented programming, you can listen to my podcast. Yeah, it's horrible. They destroyed computer science, even to the point where now it's no longer a science. It's actually, you know, it's terrible. It's terrible what they've done. They did a terrible thing. And that's why your mobile phone is really slow. You know, in spite of the fact it upgrades its power, in spite of the fact that this mobile phone is probably like thousands of times faster than the ACORN Atom. Never mind. I'll get back to my thing here. So what am I going to do to fix this? I'm going to give it another parameter in the macro. And this is going, I'm going to call it offset. And so then what I need to do is plus offset whenever I refer to the particular sprite. The only thing it's accessing of the sprites is the coordinates, the X and Y coordinates. But you see, this is why the coordinates were going all over the place, I think. It was, why was the, you remember what I did? I said, I set the thing to 100, and then run, you know, and see the address. The address was getting scrambled because it was getting overwritten by wherever the letters A and B are. And by the way, that's the reason why the corruption that you can see here, there's a bit of a corruption on the letter A. It's because it was ending up drawing it at the same place as the... Anyway. It's always nice when you manage to figure it out. But that was all the theory. We'll see if I'm right. All I've done is added an offset in here so that I can then, you know, use this anywhere. And that's the difference now between sprite address 1 and sprite address 2. What was the other reason what's the other difference between these two? That's funny because I'm not seeing any other difference between them, which means that, no, it's not possible, is it? It is, you know. Ah! Right. The other difference is that this one writes the sprite address back into the sprite. This one I needed to get to be able to write the output address anywhere. That was the original difference. So here we have a comma X, and down here we don't have a comma X. That was a earlier bug, previous bug. So this one is much more, you know, flexible. And what I need to do is when I use sprite address 2, I have to say the X register is offset from the start of the shots. Let's use the shots index. I think that's should work. Override a virtual method and get all this confusion. Yes, that's right. I don't know if you've ever worked in code bases where there are people who love their interfaces. There was one person I remember working with a few years ago, and in their code, that's what they would do for everything. No matter what they did, they created an interface. And it was an interface, an interface, an interface to the interface. And then if I'm going through a code base, I always have this sinking feeling. And I'm going, how am I going to... I need to know where the thing is that does the what's it. And how do I find it from here? And then it's like, and from this and this, I need a pointer to this, which points to that, which points to this, that points to that, points to this. So if I do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, eventually I get this number I want. It's like, destroys your soul. What have we here? You will notice there's a little blob right there above the alpha. That's just a coincidence that it's on the alpha because, oh, it's the same every time. That's funny. The alpha always is in the same place. The alpha starts off at 100, 100 because I put it there. I remember that. That is also where I'm putting the shot. I have a shot appearing in the right place. I also have down here that the address is stable. So what we'll do now is just comment out the debugging stuff. And I think we have a shot. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Yeah. You're absolutely right there. And the worst part of it is that we neglect to think, because we're also, humanity is also greedy, is also motivated by optimization. I say they'll optimize itself out of existence. It is optimizing itself out of existence. There's no joke. You can look at what AI is going to do. Is just forgetting the fact that we need to stay mentally fit. This is the danger. This is always the danger. It's like we we get machines to do the thinking for us. So then what are we? What do we become? We will lose the ability to think. And that's happened in software engineering. It was a time when software engineers wouldn't think twice about tackling gnarly, difficult problems. And in tackling those gnarly, difficult problems, they would create wonderful things that were very efficient and great. But now, it's terrible. We forget that it's important to keep human beings healthy. And if you're dealing with activities that involve thinking, it's therefore important to train people so they can think. And so every time we replace thinking with patterns that are certified in some way, say this is the way that you program, this is the way that we do things, we use these frameworks, we use these paradigms, just don't, and people stop trying to solve problems from the basics, and they lose their ability to do that, and they become mentally flabby, and we pay the price eventually. And we are paying the price because the quality of software engineering is on a decline that can no longer be supported by Moore's law. So you should be afraid here, because things work with a momentum. We already have a declining standards in software engineering is definitely a thing. And it's going to continue while the computer power is not going to be available to sustain it. So our software is going to get slower and slower. Now, how are they going to fix this? They're going to fix this with AI. And so the problem becomes worse, because why the hell are we here? What is the point? And maybe that's the reason for doing this. Maybe that's why this is healthy to do this, because I'm not doing this for commercial reasons. I'm doing this to remember the roots and to get back in touch with the roots of software engineering, because I've got a feeling it will be handy one day. Anyway, enough rant. Apple time, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. What type of IDE do I use? Well, the IDE is literally a text editor. It's Emacs. I could use Visual Studio, but anyway, I'm using Emacs. And I used Emacs, or a version of Emacs, to write Kickoff, actually. It was called Gulam. It came with Gulam on the Atari ST, a micro Emacs it was called. And I have a script on there, and it just runs a batch file. The batch file compiles the code and then stores the code in the right place for this emulator. And then, thanks to a lovely trick that Alan found yesterday, told me about, it can just do Shift F12 to load the menu. So if you call it menu, it will just load it, and boom, there it goes. Yes, exactly. But that's the thing. That's the thing. There's like most programming channels these days, when you're looking at, it's like, I don't know. People talking about object. Take your object-orientated programming it and ram it up your object. I object. Not you, but I'm saying them. Those people out there. Like, I should get back to work. Work? I called it work. No, I should get back to fun. I think I have plotted this point. So it might be that this has actually already just fixed the problem. I imagine it has. We're going to try. I'm going to just comment out this code. Maybe, you know, I don't have this in ASM mode. I didn't have ASM mode. And there, look, that's in ASM mode. And I'll stop this halt. And what do we have? The game is running. I have a weird green mark. I think that might have been just a glitch of the... I think that's just a glitch of the... It was nothing to do with me. Glitch of the emulator. Let's see if I can... Can I fire? Can I fire a shot? Ready? Oh, no, there's still a problem. Did you see that? I tried to fire a shot and the letter A jumped. Oh, wait a minute. I am getting a shot. Okay. But the letter A is also jumping around, which is kind of not desirable. So look, it's an improvement. This is a massive improvement, but I still have a bug. Yeah, Apple, I am the Dino Dini that programmed Kickoff. That's exactly right. Started work on that about 8 years after I wrote Letteroids that I'm remaking here. So by the time I started work on Letteroids, I already had something like 8 years experience of making games. So, yeah, thank you, Apple. So it's definitely an improvement. But now I need to figure out, there must be a similar thing. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm tired of this. I'm going to look at the sprites grat work. I didn't even notice the issue there. XH initial position, letter position, initialize the ship, initialize the enemies, the ship index. Here's the enemies index, the handle ship collisions. I don't think there's anything issued there. And then we're at the end of it. So that's fine. It's got to be in the sprites file as in mode. And what do we have? So this is now, I put an offset in here which fixed that problem on sprite 2. What else do we have? Move sprite. Update loop of update sprites. Draw shots. Let's see, sprites plus shot index. I'm just making sure that any access to the data has shot index in it, which it does. It's a mystery. It is, yeah. It probably is trivial. I mean, let's think about this. It's upsetting the letter A, so it's going to definitely be the same problem, right? It's got to be the same issue. Somewhere I have a sprites thing like this that isn't... Okay, let's think about this logically. What is the thing that we see? It's teleporting the letter. The fact that it's leaving a copy of the letter around is just that it's upsetting the drawing process. But it's the coordinate of the letter that will be causing the issue. So And that seems to be, well, is it just X actually? Let's look carefully. Oh, look at that. Do you see how it teleports only in the Y? That's a big clue. It means that there's a problem with sprites XY at YH, I mean. Sprites YH. I have somewhere, I have a sprites YH that is not offset. Now this is okay. Update sprites. This all uses absolute X coordinates. And this YH has an offset applied to it. So I don't think it is in here. But when I checked before, I checked for X, not Y. And I'm seeing, so let's try here. YH plus ship index, YH plus enemies index, YH plus ship index. For this one, this code here is handle ship collisions. Don't think that's an issue. Still ship shooting. All right, ship shooting. Ship shooting. Here we go. It's weird that it didn't, because it's here. I don't know why it didn't change the X coordinate, but look, this is the problem. I'm loading the coordinate. Oh, hang on. I've got a sneeze coming. Let me see if I can mute before I... Oh, it's going away. Yeah. It's this. Shots index. Though I'm a little confused as to why it's not doing that. It looked like it wasn't wrong for the X coordinate. See, I'm taking the coordinate of the ship and putting it into the beginning position of the shot. And so I was missing that, and it was writing that over onto A. But it was weird because the shot somehow managed to be in the right place as well, such as I don't understand. So I need to look a little bit more carefully. Oh. And then this is the shot velocity. This also needs to be there. I don't understand how it worked at all, frankly. Let's see. It's still very wrong. It's worse. That I don't get. Let's look at this. I have to look at this code, but it seems very much that it's the shooting algorithm here that is the problem. Let's oh. I have two A sprites now. Yeah, weird. There's weird mutations. Yeah. Weird mutations. I think it's still trying to shoot two shots. So I've just spotted an issue, which is I need to have at least two shots because I'm trying to shoot two shots from the ship. All right, well, we have a replication. I've got 3 A's now. All right, let's go and have a look at ship shooting. I take the ship fire count, I compare it with 2. Branch if the carry flag is clear. Otherwise, it means that, because I incremented it, it got too big, so I reset it. So basically, this is just going between 0 and 1. I could make it more. Yes, I agree, Mike. That does look very smoking gunny. So what I do then, oh, look at that. I added the shots index. So now I did already do it, and now I've done it twice. So all hell breaks loose. So let's just right. I'm just going to do load X with the ship fire count and then not do this at all here, right? So now X is either 0 or 1. Then we need to load sprite flags plus shot index. So this clears the disable bit. And I have to use the shots index. So I load the X coordinate, add 4, store, load Y coordinate, add 4, store to the sprite. I load the ship direction and then shift it left, so multiply by 2, transferred it into the Y register, and then I load the direction off the table. I multiply by 2 to scale up the velocity, and then we store it. And then we do that for the 4 things, and then we're done. I suspect this won't be over, but oh, hang on. Oh, it was looking so promising. Then the A letter disappeared. So I've still got something wrong there. Oh, I know. It's when the shot completes. Update shots. Shot timer. Let's see. It could be that it's a problem when the shot is times out. So here we take the number of shots. We load the sprite flags plus shot index, comma X. I check to see if it's disabled or not. I get the shot timer. I decrement the shot timer. Well, all of these have shot index, but there's clear shot. So the problem is clear shot, which is in the other file. So maybe there's something I forgot there. So I think it's a corruption when you clear the shot. So X is the index of the sprite. We load the Yeah, that's the one. It's expecting... Oh, this is nasty. Okay, what I need to do is This is a shot. Its shot index is missing here. So if I do that, num entities plus shot index, num entities plus shot index, and in here also shots index, it's a plural, it's the index of all the shots. Shots index, shots index, shots index. And this shot previous shift also. Come on. Damn, I keep forgetting I'm in Emacs. I'm trying to do Control V. Tech shot previous shift. I'm going to just check that. Shot previous shift. Yeah. I think that was the problem. So it was causing a corruption on the moment that the shot disappeared, which is incidentally also why the shots are staying on the screen. So let's try that. Oh, no, no. It's done terrible things. Right, I need to check something because I think I've... Well, I don't know. I've probably done something really stupid here because I don't understand why there's all this. I mean, in the end, it's just the same as drawing a shot. It's a special one, like draw shots. And then I have clear shots. So here's clear shot. Oh, there, right. Well, let me move it to the end. Remove clear shot. We can compare the code. Yeah, look, high byte of the low byte. Yes, I did the same up here. So what it was is I didn't do it down here. And I have now, but it doesn't help. Let's look at when we call clear shot. That's correct. The X register is either num shots -1, so in this case it'll be 0 and 1. And that's all fine. So let me verify. Let's verify first of all that it is in fact the clear shot routine by just shortcutting it out. Oh, right. There's something else. There's still a craziness happening which has nothing to do with that. There are multiple issues. So that was a problem. This isn't quite a groundhog's bug because the behavior is changing when we do stuff. It's a groundhog bug when nothing changes at all. It is, isn't it? It's weird because I don't know why it would do that, to be honest. It's a there's some cool. Oop, pardon me. Some cool animation, but it's like I'll do Conway's Game of Life in a minute. So there's still some kind of corruption going on from what shots, man. Update shots. Well, you know what? Let's just do a shortcut on update shots and see. Oh, look at that. That was unexpected. It's not the shot update. Let's do ship shooting, and I'm just going to do an RTS on that to shortcut that, and we'll see if we get any corruption now. It's just because you'd say, well, why? It would be impossible. Well, I was testing an assumption. You can actually see a shot in the top left of the screen. There's 4 pixels there. So that's fine. No problem there. So it's this ship shooting routine. It's not, the ship shooting is not ship shape. Ship fire count. Sprite flag disable from the ship shots. Shot index. So what I'm going to try is hardwire load X immediate 0, and so because I've got 2 shots, right? But it's always going to use the first shot. And immediately we had a corruption. I just fired 1 shot and it corrupted. But what I've done then is rule out that there's a problem with the X index. It's not that. We take XH plus shot index. Ship direct. All right, I'm going to start putting RTSs in front of things. I mean, down this function and see at what point the corruptions occur. So here I'll set the position of the shot. So this is, it's like a mine. Sort of they're staying on the screen, which is a little weird, but okay. But the point is there's no corruption going on, so we're fine with that. Load the ship direction, load the Y, no, load the X direction, arithmetic shift left, store it in sprites VL plus shot index comma X. VH, WL, WH. What's this shot timer? Oh, look at that. The shot timer is also the sprite's image. So now we get the answer to your question. What was going on is that the shot timer was wrong, and it was therefore going over the letters, and so then it was causing the value of the sprite's image to change and throwing it into invalid memory somewhere where it would create all those weird shapes. Yes, it's like a union, right? It doesn't come without its danger, but hey, you know, when you're programming in 6502 assembly on a 1 megahertz processor, 8-bit processor, and 6K of RAM on a 40-year-old machine, you know, it really is okay for to you know, you've got bigger things to worry about, really. So what's the problem is this innocent looking shot timer is actually a memory corruption. We saved 8 bytes, I know. Sometimes you need to save 8 bytes. I have a plan, by the way, because I said I was running out of memory. And I was thinking about it today when I got up. I was thinking about it, saying, you don't need to worry, because I've got these huge unrolled loops in macros, and you can reduce the size of one of those loops to half the size, where there would therefore be the overhead of looping, but that's with one loop. So you save half of the memory for that function for the cost of a little overhead for one loop. So in other words, I'm way skewed towards CPU performance beyond the points of diminishing return. So I should be able to get a good compromise. I also can, you know, certainly for the first version of this game anyway, I've got way more sprites than I need. So anyway, did that fix this problem? Make sure you dex rather. Yes, I know. I already do that. I am. Yeah, one can also convert subroutines to macros to subroutines. Absolutely. The thing is that some of those you could do as a subroutine become very expensive if you're not careful because of the addressing modes limitations. You end up. I'll give you an example. I have the routines are written out twice because I have 2 buffers. So there's one macro for writing to buffer 1 and then another macro for writing to buffer 2, because if I try to make it dynamic on the fly, I have problems. I can't rely on the index register. I would need a second offset from somewhere, and you can do that, but the performance would absolutely tank at that point. But there are compromises that can be made. Yeah, I really don't want to lose on subs. I know what you mean. If somebody gets offended in my, somebody gets offended because I wasted 2 stack bytes and then I lose them as a subscriber. And no, I know, I'm just being stupid, but I couldn't resist there. But when you said subs, I immediately thought of subscribers. That's how sad it is. I'm on the road to somewhere unpleasant. Look at that. It's fixed, everyone. That was the last bug. And now I can shoot away and everything's fine. If we're all sad together, we're at least together. And that's not so sad. That's good. That's good. We now have that fixed. Look at that. I occasionally send tweets to Elon Musk. It's you might say why. You shouldn't consider it to be kind of a serious enterprise. It's very sincere enterprise. It's more like art. You know, sending a tweet to Elon Musk is more an artistic statement than anything. Oh, hang on, I still got a bug. It's when the timeout, it doesn't. Maybe I have that commented out. I'll have a look in a minute. Because I am apparently going to lose my blue tick. So I have a blue tick on Twitter, which, you know, is really weird how people get upset about people who have blue ticks. But for me, it was kind of important because I get people pretending to be me. Or they make a video game and then they pretend that I'm involved in it. And there are nasty people on the internet who do things. Right, so it was for that reason I wanted a blue tick. And that's why I got myself, you know, the blue tick before. Now, so my tweet to is basically saying, you're going to remove this blue tick, but this means that once that happens, Starfield, once that happens, then people will be able to pretend that they're me. Let's say if I leave the platform, you know, and if I don't want that to happen, I have to pay you money. So that sounds a bit like extortion to me. And it is. It's like a protection racket. You pay a monthly fee to ensure that you can remain certified that you are you. And if you don't, then people can pretend to be you. So if you don't want the people to be able to pretend to be you, pay money. Tell me how that isn't like a protection racket. I think there's going to be a huge legal thing that will come from that, an absolutely massive one, because you know, if companies that I don't know, let's say you're Coca-Cola, you know, and you decide that you want to leave Twitter. And then, so somebody then sets up and pretends to be you. And then Twitter can just say, if you don't like that, you can pay us. So of course they'll probably go, oh no, well we can't do that. Of course, don't worry about it. Yes, no, it doesn't work. They would have to start policing, you see, so that to make sure that people are not faking other people. It's a mess. What Twitter had before was great because it got them out of the problem. If you were upset about the fact that somebody was using your identity, you could get yourself certified, get yourself the blue tick. You got yourself covered. You didn't have to pay anything to Twitter. It was done. Now, sometimes I wonder about him. You now have those artifacts because you're setting num shots to 2 rather than 1. Good one. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. You're probably right with that. Well, it's worth a shot. I did remove that though. No. Okay, it was a good idea, but no, it wasn't that. I think what it is that I've got clear sprite simply disabled. Let me take a look. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Clear shot. No. Oh, it's there. I removed the shot XOR with screen. Oh, they have a gold tick now for business. I see. So let's get this straight. Elon Musk, who publicly stated that the blue tick was like having lords and ladies, you know, and thus creating a kind of two classes, has now gone around the whole circle and created a gold tick. I mean, come on. There's a gold tick. I used to respect Elon Musk. I thought it was. Now I just. It's like, come on, dude. Come on. A gold tick. How is that? I want a gold tick. Do I not deserve a gold tick? I remember at school we used to get gold stars. Can I have a gold star, please? What do I need to do to get that? It'll all end in tears. Honestly, it will. It will all end in tears. I just don't understand. I don't understand. How can someone so intelligent be so... You can fill in the rest yourself. Oh, I'm coming up with all these game ideas. It's like, wee, 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 wee. Racing game, anyone? Anyway, I think this is working now. Okay, you raise a very valid point, Mike. I was thinking about this today as well. I don't have any source control. And I was thinking, you know, it's like maybe I should get some source control. I'll get some source control. But it's a shame because I like the thrill of working without source control, just like the good old days. But seriously, there is a point about what source control does. It tends to... Now, I'm not saying source control is a bad thing. It's absolutely essential. But like everything that we have, there's a cost. And I think it's important to recognize the cost of source control. What it does is it can lead to you thinking that your code is precious. So you end up modifying your code incrementally instead of sort of refactoring it. Now, when I'm working without source control, it ups the stakes a bit. I need to be more careful. I need to be... I can't rely on that as a crutch. And so that's bad. That's dangerous. I kind of realize that. But in another way, it's good in the sense that it teaches me to be more careful. It trains me to be careful. And so this comes back to what I was saying earlier about the human element, because we all forget the human element. Everything that we do, all the technology we make, it all seems to forget the human element. But copying the folder, yeah, you can do that. You absolutely can do that. You can copy the folder. But you know what? I'm not even doing that. But that will change now. I think I have actually got it in a Git folder I called Git. Look. But I don't think it's actually in there yet. I don't think I've got anything checked in. So let's get we'll get an Emacs thing out and we'll do it. Let's get ourselves sorted on this one. I could go back to the desktop. We can get sorted. So I'm not that experienced with the old Git command line. But let's see, git status. I don't think there is. Yeah, it's not. There isn't anything in there. So I need to store this somewhere, and I had somewhere. Where did I do it? Oh, I don't. I back up everything anyway. I have a backup every day. But I think I can just. Well, yeah. It's a bit annoying, isn't it? I don't know if there's a way to sort of create it in situ. Is there? Git init. Let me try. Git init dot. You're using it. Initialized empty Git repository. Oh, I thought it didn't work if there were already things in there. Okay, and that's fine. And then I can do git got status. Then you're suggesting I want to add I want to track everything. So I'm just going to do AM. That didn't work. Dash AM. Git commit dash AM. Oh, I missed the commit. Yeah, that makes sense. Commit. Initial commit, untracked files. Nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. So what I need to do is git add AC. I thought I had more folders in here. Atomulator, didn't it? Why doesn't it recognize that? I don't know. Git add atomulator. The following paths by one of your git ignore files. Really? Actually, you know what? I'm just going to check something before I proceed any further. Do I really need... I don't need... I haven't got anything in there. I can recover those. Let's just add letteroids to... It'll be fine. I'm going overboard. Okay, and then we'll do... Yeah, that's fine. I have source control now. Lovely, thank you. Right, so what do I want to work on next? I don't have a remote repository yet, but I will. I used to use Mercurial rather than Git for historical reasons when I was working on Kickoff Revival. But I think nobody uses Mercurial anymore. Yeah, bullet sprite collision. It'd be good if I could shoot the enemy, I suppose. So now for doing the collision detection, how should we do that? I could look at the sprite, the shooting routine, which I've got here. Draw shots. We do exclusive all with screen. I can use a version of exclusive all with screen. Oh, shot exclusive all with screen. To do the collision detection, I need to use the draw routine to detect that. So shot XOR with screen. This is quite a short little macro, really. So I don't really think there's a problem with me using up more memory on this. Yeah, that's what I do with the collision of the ship against the letters. So it detects a collision, and then it scans all of the letters to see which one you collided with. I'm going to have to do something similar here. I was just thinking about whether to check for... I could have the ship check for the collision. But it feels like it's better to have this. So what I will do is add the collision routine. I'm going to copy it from the collision routine that I have in the sprite, a much bigger sprite blitter. So after the store AY here, what we want to do is check retain only the bits that we set in the source branch if equal. So what happens is that when I use the clear of the sprite, I expect the sprite to not have any pixels set when it's cleared underneath what it was. So because I'm using exclusive all plotting, so I load the byte from video memory, I then exclusive all the image, I then write it back. And to clear, I do the same. I just redraw it because it's exclusive, or it reverses all the bits and the thing disappears. So we expect it to all be disappeared. So what I do is this loads video memory, exclusive all the data that we're drawing. We store it, and then if we're checking for collisions, then we AND it with the data that for this the what we are drawing, so that we're only checking the bits of the image, and then we make sure that all of the bits are cleared, and if they're not, we increment the collision count. Oh yes, thank you, I forgot. It's always the danger when you're doing that. No, it will anything. If it just acts as a indication that there was a collision of the shot with anything, and then it needs to figure out what it actually collided with. But the advantage of doing this is that it means I don't have to do what would be otherwise prohibitively expensive. I would be doing bounding box checks on all of the sprites. So when you're firing a bullet, it could collide with any of the enemies. It can collide with another bullet. It could collide with the enemies. So every frame I would need to be doing bounding box checks. And that's going to affect performance significantly. However, by using this trick, I can effectively detect in the blitting if there is some kind of collision that occurred, and then I run the query to find out what. But by doing that, I'm only running that query occasionally instead of every frame. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so that's what I do here. So in the macro for the blitter, which is 16, this takes quite a bit of memory, and it's a macro. So I have two variants. I have one that is with collision detection turned on and one with it turned off. But yeah, if the collision detection is turned on, then yeah, this is load the video memory. This is load the sprite image that's been prepared and rotated ready. It's store it back in the screen, and then if we have collision counts, then we AND it with this, and then we branch if equal around an increment collision count. And so then, you know, if an increment collision count is not 0, then we know it collided with something. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to add that to the shots. And frankly, because I'm running low on memory, I'm not going to bother with, you know, making two variations of this. I'm just going to put it in permanently. I think that makes sense. That's an interesting one. Not really, because it will probably be more expensive to try and shortcut it, because it's already pretty cheap. If think about it, it's doing this as it draws, so it has to do the drawing because we need the whole thing drawn. If I could add some, I mean, maybe I could do, I suppose it could have a branch in there. Say, is it branch if collision count is non-zero? That would increase the size of the blitter. It might save time, but I think it's also costing. So I think the jury is out on that one, but that is a potential. But I'm not going to do that right now. So here, right, this AND is wrong because it needs to be the same from that we had from here, because the shots, drawing the shots is vastly simplified compared to a sprite. And then increment Y, that's where we're writing to video memory. So we're now writing to the byte to the right of the byte that we wrote before. And then we do this one. And then I need to copy the same thing again. Call that B1. It's basically, this happens after the store, and but I need to make it 8 and B2. Then we add 31 to the Y register, which requires 4 instructions. So transfer Y to A, clear carry, add with carry 31, transfer A to Y. And then we're now on the next line down. And there's the next byte. Let's draw it's plus 16. branch B3 collision count, and then the final one we increment Y again, and we do the last one here. So this is 24 and B4, and we've got our collision count. So that's good, and all I need to do now is add a collision count to that on shot XOR with screen, and then I need to make sure that I provide, when I do shot XOR with screen, I need to have, this is on the clear. I only need to really worry about it on the clear. Okay, we're going to load a immediate 0. We're going to store a dollar. Now I had 85 I'm going to use for this now. So 0 page memory 85. And I need to pass into the macro that I want it to use 85 for counting collisions. So once that's done, if $85 is not 0, then it means we had a collision. So we do load a $85 and branch if not equal .dsh2, and so if we get here we jump halt. So with a bit of luck it won't even compile or run. Let's see, 807. What have we got? Line 807 that it doesn't like. Yeah, because I need to specify the address. So this is still 85. And I still have an error on 827. Here too. On clear shot. So, while I think about it, I missed where you set up the draw routine. Are you shifting the bits to draw non-whole char boxes? Yeah, this was if you want to see that being built up, you look in the earlier streams. Yeah, recap on that is that the sprites are stored in here. So this is the sprite data with all the letters and so on, and it's stored with 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each one of these is a different line, and these are all the characters. So I need to, the letter A begins 1, 8, then there's 2, 4, then there's 4, 2, then there's 8, 1, and so on. It's laid out like that. And then there is there's memory reserved for this again. Although that's initialized to 0. So what you've got is the images are lying in memory, and then they also have their counterpart on the right hand side to make it 16 bits, but the right hand bits are all cleared. And then what happens is when it wants to draw, say, the letter A, and it needs to shift it 4 pixels to the right, it shifts the letter A source. Instead of shifting it when it draws it to the screen, it actually shifts the source sprite and then draws it. And when it needs to draw again, it will do it will then shift it where it needs to shift it. If you follow what I'm saying. So it's like if I was drawing all A's, it would be expensive, because if they were all the letter A, then every time you are processing a frame, it's going to have to go, we need the letter A 2 pixels, 4 pixels, 1 pixel, and it will be shifting it backwards and forwards all the time. But when things are moving normally here, you see that I don't have the same letter multiple times. I do with the enemies, so there'll be more expense there, because the problem is there's no barrel shift on the 6502, which means that shifting 8 pixels is quite expensive, because you have to do the same instruction 8 times to shift it, or 7, it goes up to 7, right? And then it's worse because you're doing a 16-bit shift, so I have to do an arithmetic shift left, for example, and then a roll left, so it gets quite expensive. So instead of this, an optimization is shift the source sprite and then rely on the fact that it's not very often that we have a situation where we need to do a lot of shifting of a sprite per frame. So it's like caching. It sort of does the shift and it caches it. So of course the next time, the next frame, the letter A might have moved 1 pixel to the right. So when it needs to do that shift, it remembers where it shifted it to, and it says, I only need to shift it 1 pixel to the right, instead of having to say every frame. So the other way is every frame you rotate the sprites every time, and then that costs. Right? Does that make sense? So that was quite a bit of work, but it seems to work out okay. So that happens. That's calculating the sprite address. This is sprite to buffer, where the rotated sprite is copied to the logical sprite, which has a copy of what it will draw, because these are being all set up outside of the vsync to be able to minimize the computation that's required during vblank. So that's copying it to the sprite buffer. And then additional complication, there are 2 sprite buffers, because there's like a front and a back. There's the buffer which retains what was drawn in the previous time to be able to clear it, and then it uses the other buffer for the draw. And to save having to copy between the buffers, it just flips which buffer it uses every frame. Right. And that's one of the costs of the code in terms of memory, is that the front buffer, the buffer 1 and buffer 2, is literally duplicated code. It's all unrolled loop, it's all duplicated. So this is where the cost comes from. Yep, take care, Mike. Thanks for tuning in. It's a pleasure as ever. So then we've got here the shift sprite left. That's a 16-bit shift of 1 bit of a sprite. Shift it right. And then this calculates how much to shift it left or right, remembering where it was shifted to currently, and does a loop. And then this is buffer XOR with screen is the blitter. Blitting a sprite, and I've got the little blitter for the shots. And the RAND sprite routine for the explosion of the ship. In most of the code in the sprite routines is to do with all of that I was just talking about. Would it be a lot of messing about with addressing modes to dedupe the buffer code though? Yeah, it probably would. I think, as I said, it's like when you're looking at at the really big one, the really big macro, which is this one that has these 16 sections all unrolled, they are also, I specify on here where I'm copying the memory to and from. If I didn't do it that way, because I have two buffers, I would need to index using, maybe, well, the sprite instance. I could potentially do it if I have the X register. If I limited myself to 128 sprites, I guess I could duplicate on the X to have like the lower 128 duplicated on the above, so that we've got the buffer 1 is the lower 128 and buffer 2 is the higher 128. And then if I did that, I could probably get rid of one of those. So maybe, but I'm going to worry about the optimization later. Hey, Apple time. Yes, I do have it. My parents are both Italian, but I'm a wandering soul that's neither English nor Italian, or is English and Italian, depending on how you look at it. I don't. I have Italian blood in me. I have an Italian temperament. I like waving my arms about. There's a bit of a mamma mia thing to me. I can say that being Italian. It's not racist. Both my parents are Italian. They came to England when I was nearly 60 years ago now, when I was born. And yeah, but I grew up in southeast London. Little bit of trivia: I used to take the 269 to get to school every day, and the 269 goes past the office at Splash Damage. Splash Damage is in sort of my area-ish, southeast London. Small world. Anyway, it's interesting. It gives you an interesting perspective on things, but it does mean that I'm always an outsider, I guess. Oh, now I had made some changes and I ended up talking. And that was quite an impressive crash. We actually have a crash. It's amazing how rare crashes are, actually. I mean, I've had memory corruption, I've had graphical glitches, but when do we have an actual crash? An honest crash. Here, it's... Oh, no, it's not. It's not a crash. Even this is not a crash. I'll explain. I'm kind of gobsmacked, to be honest, at how rare it is for me to have a crash. That's not a crash. What's happened is that the collision detection occurred and it's halted. And you can tell that because this flickering, this counting byte up here, I use that to indicate that we're in a halt. We do have a lovely corruption, though, on the screen. So I think that was because I added this XOR stuff. Why would that cause that? Let's review the code. The code says load Y, load A, blah, blah, and then I do the and branch if equal 1, increment Y. Transfer A to Y, 16, collision count That's disappointing. What did I do? Bit 1, bit 2, bit 3, bit 4, collision count. Well, I suspect I damaged something when I added this code, because I can't see how the code per se would cause a problem. That's collision detection removed. Is this not building? Oh. Why does it stop immediately? I got the... That's very odd. Let's have a look at the... I had this sense of this is the wrong way. It's the wrong way around. Branch if equal, not branch if not equal. Okay, and then when I fire the shot, it's cool. There's proof that it's not a crash, right? That is a halt, as it detected a collision. So things are... Well, now I've got source control. I could revert, see. Is that a crash? Do we count that as a crash? It's actually not a crash. It's a lockup. But I guess that's pretty close to a crash. It's giving me an idea for another game. Yeah, it's like, wow. Oh dear. It's not a crash. Alright. We have to say that's a lockup as well, but really in practice a crash. So I was saying it's great and I'm not getting any crashes, and suddenly I'm getting a load of crashes. So it's like... Painteroids. Smooth scrolling. What is wrong here? Shall I just undo? I'm... You know, I'm just going to undo this and try again. I was talking too much. I lost my concentration. There isn't really much there. I can do it again. Oh, I don't know. I've gone back a bit and we'll see. Right, what's macro? Right, let's comment out. macro not defined or wrong signature. Yeah, so I think it was a good idea that I got the... what I'm going to do is save sprites .a backup on there, and let's just look at the difference. Git diff I'm looking at the diff here, and it was macro. There isn't that much difference. Yeah, I think I'll just do a revert. So what's that? Git checkout sprites.a. Let me go into Letteroids. I'm in the wrong folder here. Git checkout sprites.a. All right, I just reverted sprites.a. Okay. Very good. Let's make the change slowly. I'm breaking some of my rules here. Mainly because I was starting to talk and rant and whatever else. So let's do ASM mode. We're looking at ASM mode. We'll start by changing the macro for drawing this shot XOR with screen. After the store A, so store A, and over here store A, we've got 4 checks that we want to put in store A. And then if I can go and look at the previous file, so we and from plus the branch if equal increment collision count dot b1, and I'm going to do dot collision count equals $. It might be that that byte I was using was used for something else. It's always possible. Equal $, I don't know, 99. I'm pretty sure I'm not using 99 at the moment, and we could just run that and see. Yeah, that works fine. I put those 4 in. collision count B1, collision count B2, +8, +16, B3, B3, and then here's +24, and that's B4, B4. And check, make sure that this works. Yeah. Yeah, it's the BBC Micro Basic is an enhanced, improved version of the Atom Basic, but the principles are the same. You could also, the Atom also had an inline assembler. It's really not appreciated just how brilliant the ACORN Atom was for its time. When you had other home computers that people were doing assembly programming on, like, ZX80s, 81s and so on, but they had no tools at all. There was no built-in assembler. It was probably the earliest single most educational computer, and then the BBC Micro built on top of that. So they both had assembly in there. And I wrote games in Atom Basic as well. One of the first games that I wrote. There was a funny, Letteroids is a kind of continuation of an idea that was in the Acorn Atom Magic book. There's a game called Letters, and you literally had the letters and you had to run around and collect them in order, but that was done using like ASCII display. Use character display, but that could be written in BASIC because it's, it didn't need a lot of speed. As everybody says how smooth this looks, and to be honest, you're looking at it on the original hardware, it's as smooth can be, but in the end all I'm doing is I'm updating the graphics once every 50, on every VSync. What's weird is that you're looking at this and I can see it jittering here, and then you're looking at it through the jittering of the stream and then the refresh rate of your monitor. There's a lot to get in the way. But as long as you don't drop any frames, you're going to get smooth movement. All of mine ran at 50 FPS. No, actually that's not true. There was a game I made, it was also published, called The Quest for the Crown, on the BBC Micro. That was a 3D game, but with a fixed perspective. Yep, so that's looking fine. Let's see if I can. I think the problem was I was reusing something that was already being used. Silly, obvious mistake. So now I am saying we need to pass in some kind of variable. Maybe I'll do the same thing that I did up with these. I think it's, so the collision count, and we check to see if it's not equal 0. So, and I can turn it off. So what this is around this code. Um, so how's that? And now if I don't want to have collision detection in this macro generated code, I just put 0 at the end here. So let's start off with that. 0, 0, and 0. Make sure it works. Oh, Vectrex. I have a love for the Vectrex. I used to own a Vectrex and I don't know what happened to it. And great shame that disappeared. I don't know. But I want to buy one again. But the Vectrex was also an amazing thing. There are some advantages to vector displays. I'm a bit of a sucker for vector displays, to be honest. In fact, what would be quite interesting is a homemade Vectrex. That would be very interesting. We take my ACORN System 1 and connect it to a digital, it's analog, no DACs, digital to analog converters, and get it to draw images on an oscilloscope. And voila, homemade Vectrex. This is the reason for the similarity in terms of smoothness of movement again, is that you're guaranteed that every image on a Vectrex is drawn once. I talked about this before. If you image the screen once for the position of everything, so that you never have it sort of drawn twice in the same position for anything that's moving, you'll get perfectly smooth movement. And it took me years to figure it out. I only figured it out in recent years, and I slapped my forehead when I finally figured out where the jitter came from. And it's it comes from the fact that your eye is moving, that when you're tracking something and following it, if you generate an image twice in the same place because your eye has moved from one to the second, from the first time to the second time. So for example, if you're running a game, if a game is running at 30 FPS on a 60 FPS monitor, you'd be better off having the monitor running at 30 FPS. Now you might, at 30 FPS, you might be getting some flicker, but what you wouldn't get, because the frame rate's a bit low, but what you wouldn't be getting is double images, or you would get crisp images, because your eye tracking something that's moving would not. Yeah, frame 1 eye is here, frame 2 eye is here, but the thing didn't move, but the monitor has stamped it in your vision, and then boom, you see 2. There's also an explanation if you've ever seen those LED signs that lean. It's like when the text is still, they're vertical. Then when they actually start moving, they start doing this. Zzz. So you look at it, go, where does the lean come from? Where does the lean come from? I'm sitting on a bus and looking at the sign and saying, I don't understand where the lean comes from. Where does that? And then it makes sense when you realise Your eye is moving with the letters, and as it moves with the letters are being drawn top to bottom. You're going to get that skew. But the skew is because your eye is moving. If you don't move your eye, you don't see the skew. I love that stuff. Anyway, it looks like this thing is working fine. So now we'll try turning it on. Now I said 80, I used 85. In theory 85 should be fine. Do you want to draw the shots on the clear thing here? I'm going to load a immediate zero, store a $85, and then we can go to, oh my word, $85. And just check, does that? No, it's working now. Why it was causing all that trouble before, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, it's working now. And then what we want to do is check if there was a collision. So I can load a $85 and then do branch if equal .ds_h2 and then jump halt. So it should stop the moment a shot hits something. Let's try again. Right. Boom. Ah, that looked like it worked, didn't it? It hit the letter G. So we've got progress. So do you know what the object of the game is going to be yet? The object of this game? Yes. I think you may have been coming to the stream and not seeing the game description or whatever. It's a remake of a game that I released in 1980, which was called Letteroids, but it was released by the publisher as Astro Warrior, and they made me change the letters into abstract shapes. But I have the logic of the game turned off at the moment. Let me turn it back on. I need to find it. So we are looking, let's see, I need to, 1 second, the fuel consumption rate, handle fuel, I think I have that commented out at the moment. And handle ship collisions. So if I uncomment these two, yeah. So this is the game Astro Warrior, but as it was originally intended, like, you know, director's cut. You have to refuel. You see that bar on the top left is getting shorter. That's my fuel bar, and I mustn't run out of fuel. So I have to fly around and collect the letters. And then you have the Greek letters come along, and they're the enemies. So what I'll be doing is trying to shoot at them. Oh, there's a YouTube video of it. Whoa. I'm really glad. I mean, I moan about that publisher having, you know, forced me to ruin the game with changing the graphics, but if they hadn't done that, the game would have been lost forever. So there is something to refer to, but I'm not looking at it. I'm doing this from memory for now. Oh, that's a bit disappointing. It detected a collision, but didn't collide. It probably collided with itself or with the ship. Yeah, it's colliding with the ship. But why was I able to shoot before? I was... Oh. I need to understand that. Let me turn off handle fuel and handle ship collisions a minute. That's weird, isn't it? It was... Maybe it just so happened to be which directions I was shooting in. I don't like it when behaviours seem to change. It's like now it gets halts all the time. When I saw it halt. Oh, probably I was moving diagonally like, oh, right. Okay. I hadn't been shooting and then I shot when I was demonstrating it. And, okay. The question is, well, I really don't want it to be colliding. With the ship. I suppose I could just not have any collision for the first few frames. Let me try that. It'll be the quickest way around that problem. So, shooting, not shotting, shooting, ship shooting. What we need to do is get the ship direction, the fire count, the shot timer, 135. So $135. Okay, I need to figure out what I want to do when I detect a collision. And to that end, I have... Did I have collision flags? Thought I had sprite collisions. Sprites collisions. Okay. So what we need to do is check where I do that. Store a sprite collisions. So I'll do the same thing here. Store a sprites collisions plus shots index comma x. So after that just flags that whether or not there was a collision that frame. Oh yeah, I just store it, I don't check it. I just always store it. So every frame I can look at the sprites collision array. I look at, and if there's something in there not 0, it means there was a collision. I'll look at that in a minute. Yeah, yeah, because the problem was that the order is very important. So how do you represent order? I tried. I made abstract shapes with little things on it to try, but publisher was asking me to do something that was impossible. Does your ship have a shield? If it did, you could use double fuel. Yeah, that's a nice feature idea. Maybe for the sequel. I want to recreate the original first and then look at doing a sequel. So, okay, a shot collision can occur when updating the shots. I can check here to see if there was low day sprites collisions plus num shots comma x, and we'll put the check here, branch if equal dot su3, otherwise jump halt, and then dot su3. Maybe the BBC version, yeah. Kind of pretend as though it was a success and then lots of sequels. Oh, I don't like that. I've got corruption on the screen now. Here we go again. The only place that could have occurred would be with sprites collisions plus shot index. This store. Yeah, I don't seem to have any problems here, no corruptions here. Oh, because the X register at this point has been zapped. I have to restore it. Okay, that explains that. I'll try again. Okay, that's stopped because it's collided with the ship. I don't think so. I think it needed a 6K. I'm pretty sure it needed 6K. It wouldn't have been able to fit it into 2K. Why do you ask? Have you got an atom? So let's look at the shots. Update shots, the halt, but before we halt, we do load a shot timer. We're going to do 135, and it's the ship shot life. Time. And is equal 135. So the point of all that is branch if equal SU3. Okay, so I load that, I compare it with immediate ship shot lifetime minus, I don't know, 4. And so this is like, do not collide for 4 frames. I'll call it N frames. I also have to keep the comment up to date, right? So, and what we'll do is, if we subtract, I want to see if it's less than. So, if it's if it's less than, then then we branch if carry clear. So, branch if carry set.su3. This should probably not collide with anything now, and not collide with its the ship. Well, the original game, my programming skills were a lot inferior, so I got away with not having many sprites at all, to be honest. You think about it, you need this at 50 FPS, you need the ship and the shots, but the letters were time sliced, as you can see here. So in the end, you could get away with like 2 sprites. Yeah, the BBC Micro was an excellent machine. Really was. Oh, right, that hit the G. That hit something off the screen. That hit the ship. Let's try 5 frames. No, I have to do. Once we shoot the shot, I need to know what it's collided with. And that's fine. So I think the next step I need to do is to check when it detects a collision with the shot, what it collided with, and if it's collided with an enemy, kill the enemy. So we're getting there. But I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it a night. So hopefully I'll be back again tomorrow. So take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of your weekend. Cheers. Thanks, Scott. Where you go? Oh, there.